Hey Planets New, Hammersickle59 here, back with another summary video. Alright, this one's called Pisro Sector. I started it over 2 years ago, ended it about a year ago. It's the longest game I ever played, and that's sort of why I'm analyzing it, actually. It's sort of very different from any other game I played. So, spoiler alert, it lasted 198 turns. It sort of evolved into a 4v4, 2 mega alliances, and it was very difficult to make significant progress. There was a lot of like trench warfare type situation. So let's talk about how that went down. So players I'm going to talk about, or commanders I'm going to talk about in this game that were, played important roles. Hentagon, my main ally, who played the Fascist, now called the Fury. Then we had Geoduck playing the Birdmen and Itar playing the Crystals. Those were my other allies. And I was fighting up against the Rebels, which was played by, for most of the game, played by a ypsi. I don't know how you pronounce that. And the board player, Simonyellow, was also, he survived to the end. He was a very strong player. And the lizard player, Clifton, was also very strong and survived till the end. The rebel player did very well, by the way. I mean, he didn't survive, but he fought like a demon, essentially. When outnumbered and pulled the exact tactics he needed to survive as long as he did, which was very, very deep in the game. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm the pirate. At this point in my experience, I'm still using very crappy tactics, very crappy tax rates, never making my people even unhappy. There's a humanoid here, a Gipsodal here. I do not turn either of them to early star bases. Here's a Bovinoid. Fascists are my southern neighbor. Feds are my north. I end up reaching out to the Fascists, played by Hentagon, and offer a ship trade. I think it was a couple D7s, and I give them a BR4 and a Meteor. But also, more importantly, we were like, hey, these guys have Lokis. They both work against us. Let's gang up on them. So that was the basis of our relationship in the beginning. Let's move on. And looking at the scores and stuff, he was a better player than I was at the time, especially. If you just want to, we'll look at the scores at some point. But he had more star bases, more ships, things like that. As a matter of fact, there was a number of commanders who had more. You would think as a pirates that I would have more than others, or at least more than most others. But no, I was noobish. Okay, so let's keep going. Harassing the feds. They ended up being less experienced than either myself or Hentagon, so we actually were handling them pretty well. They weren't using Lokis effectively, etc. Okay, so now the rebel player over here, I ended up being able to observe their initial ship trade, which is actually interesting because I disrupted it. So arrows for a falcon. Here's a falcon. Or he gave them the falcon, I think, at the Feds. He already got the falcon, the Feds was giving him the arrows. But I disrupted that. After that, I think I was telling the rebels, hey, just back off. We're taking out the Feds. As long as you don't interfere, you'll be fine. I believe that's how it went down. Now, maybe vets can help me here, but when I look back at the messaging, like, for example, here's the Hentagon messages. I try to go back, and it doesn't go all the way back to the beginning. So I can't see my initial contact messages with many of the factions, which is annoying. So if there's a better way of doing that, definitely let me know. But some of this I have to go from memory of how it went down. So basically, we isolated and contained the Feds. We were dealing with him. At the same time, we infiltrated rebel territory, but not, in a way that's gonna, not robbing or anything like that. I don't want to give away my presence. Just infiltrating, seeing what I can see. At a certain point, the fascists come in and start attacking, and then that's when I also reveal myself and start. Here it is, bam. So we start stealing. I steal a rush. I rob a bunch of places at once. We're playing the disruption game. And it's vicious, right? Because it's 2, at this point, we're turned 41. And look at the scores. Okay, so rebels are doing well. Rebels are doing well. But he's up against Hentagon here, has way more ships. And I'm down here on planet count, but not too low. And I have even more ships than the rebels. but not as much as Hentagon. And it's 2v1 against a guy who doesn't have much tactics against cloakers. I mean, obviously you got the normal minefields and stuff like that, and the beam up fuel trick against the Rob and different things. But so he was getting, I expected him to fold more quickly, but in fact, what he did was he survived. He did everything he could do to survive. Minefields, every little trick you can think of with the beam up fuels and the evasive movements and intercepting your own ships and whatever you can think of, right? And importantly, he reached out right away to the right races to get the backup he needed. So while this was going down, while this harassment's going down, you'll see coming in, we're going to have Borg and Lizard ships. Here we go. Yep, approaching. And they're bringing Lokis with them, okay? And Lokis end up just like, Lokis ruled the roost this game. Like there were so many Lokis produced this game that was frustrating. So I definitely had to like pull back my tactics, but I definitely played a good support role in terms of mobility and things like that. But and I got my hands on a few ships. Here's a Gorby I stole, right? We end up giving a good amount of meteors and stuff to Geoduck because he can go in and not get decloaked. So we were always able to adapt our tactics. And so I'm just going to highlight some cool things that happen. So it's turn 61. They've formed this mega alliance against us at this point, okay? It's Lizards, Rebels, Borg, and Evil Empire, but Evil Empire is the weakest of the four. And then so we realized, well, shoot, we can't, even though we're in the top right now. Let's see, we're at turn 63. Let's look at the score. Yeah, me and my ally Hentagon are in the top. It's not going to stay that way with the 4v2, so we end up reaching out to first Itar. Let's see when exactly it happens. Let's keep going. Here we go. Itar, and then shortly after... Oh, I thought it happened faster than that. This war is still going on. They were able to actually watch, you'll see them taking back a lot of their territory, especially with the Wizard help. But I thought this happened. Let's speed this along. Yeah, okay. Mega Light. Now we have our 4v4. Crystals, Birdmen, right? And we have the bottom half, they have the top half. And it was a very long trench warfare style attrition game, right? I mean, we're trying to steal ships, and we have that on our side, and web fields and stuff like that. But man, the mobility and the economy of Cyborg, Lizard, and all of that, and the Rebel player as well. I mean, they're able to do a lot and hold us off for a long time. But let's keep going and talk about some cool things that happen. For the Borg player, okay, Simonyellow, you were using lowercase ATT on a lot of your planets, and we were just able to get through your minefields with that. So I recommend going like lowercase a, uppercase T, lowercase t, some variation, right? There's a bunch of different variations you could use so that they can't use that for your minefields and other purposes. So one tip there. Let's see what else happened. The Rebel player ends up going all the way to like turn 134 and then resigns. And they weren't even like, under threat of dying or anything like that. But I understand it was a long game. Oh, it's past 134? Okay, look at my notes real quick. 147, my bad. Misremembered. Okay, they go to 147 and then they resign, right? Bam. But let's look at the situation at that point. That was a snapshot. Okay, so now Geoduck has taken the lead. Here's Hentagon, then myself, then Itar. So now our, Mega Alliance is in the top 4, right? At that point in the game. Plus now it's a 4v3, and actually, look, Evil Empire is very close to being knocked under the FOF, which does happen shortly. So quickly, it's going to be evolved into a 4v2, but Dwight Schrute comes in, takes over for the Rebels for a bit. He does end up, this is funny, look at this. Speaking of friendly codes, look at this huge mistake I made. I leave my meteor on MKT, right? And I'm trying to tow this guy. I have it designed so he's gonna, I'm not even towing, I'm cloaking, but regardless, he's gonna arrive with no fuel, but it's fine because he'll be cloaked and he'll transfer in fuel, right? Well, wrong, okay, so the meteor ends up getting stolen because he's on Force of Surrender MKT. and the Merlin gets there, but the Merlin's going to now be stolen because he has no fuel. So I end up losing both ships that I was moving in with. Sorry. Yeah, common mistakes. You just lots of details in this game. Okay, let's move on. What else important happened that I want to explain? Oh, one huge thing, actually, going back in time. Sorry. I almost betrayed Hentagon. Hentagon, if you're listening to this, I know that sounds crazy, because like, hey, we were doing so well, and all this stuff. Why would you almost betray me? Well, at the time, I thought most people in the Planets community, not most, but I thought more of them played similar to my style, which is like very devious and willing to betray and stuff, right? So that combined with there was a series of turns that you weren't responding to my messages, and during those series of turns, it was around here, you had a good amount of warships over my star bases and like my homeworld and stuff, and like good amount of warships moving in. Now I know you were actually just moving through my territory, but my paranoia got the best of me, and I seriously contemplated betraying you, and it was for self-defense. It wasn't like, haha, I'm gonna betray him. No, it was like, shoot, if he gets the jump on me now, I'm screwed, but if I get the jump on him, at least I have more of a fighting chance. It was more of a paranoia that you were going to do it first because of the positioning and the lack of communication. But I'm glad I did not betray or whatever, turn on you first, because it all ended up working out. So we'll leave that at that, and now we'll do this cool fun thing since I have all the turns loaded. Here we're looking at the screen here, and we'll go from beginning to end pretty quickly. Bam. Okay, so we end up negotiating the end. Basically, after it was a 4v2, Borg and Lizard sort of lost hope, which is understandable, and everyone was very tired. It was a very long game, and basically, we just gave it to the top leaders of the planet count and had them share an alliance instead of, it was going to be me and Hentagon till the end, but there's just reasons why that would be unfeasible at the time. And if I really wanted to just continue the war, Hentagon allowed that. He said, hey, if you want to keep fighting this out and see where it goes. Like, he didn't want to, but he allowed that, which is, I respect that. And I realized that if I kept fighting, actually, I would have lost against my former allies. Like, I was not in a position to do well against them in terms of their abilities against mine. Crystals especially. Geoduck, I mean, he was already had a good lead, and then he has good counter tactics as well. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to fight my former allies, and so we just negotiated an end. I got third place. Not bad. And yeah, it was a great game. It was, I don't want to play this style of game often, but every once in a while I don't mind getting bogged down in a long game. We will end it there.